Hello everyone, it's Foo here, and I am bringing you my first Crown Tundra team. I can't wait to show you this because I've been planning it for weeks. And finally, the Crown Tundra DLC dropped. I got to try it out and it works beautifully. This is a team featuring Galarian Articuno, one of the new Galarian legendary birds introduced in the DLC. And it's such a good Pokemon with a massive special attack stat, really good all-round bulk, and the competitive ability, which is the linchpin of this team. This team also features one of my favorites from Sword and Shield, which is Eldegoss, that generally isn't very good, but in this team, it is a supporting monster, so I can't wait to show you. Before we get into the battle, if you enjoy my content, please consider leaving a like. Apparently, if you subscribe to the channel, your freezing glares will freeze more often, so it's worth a click. I think the best way to show off the team is just to dive straight into some example battles. So in this first battle, my opponent leads off with Dragapult and Sylveon, a relatively common pairing that we've seen before because the Sylveon can go for a quick attack into the Dragapult, giving it its weakness policy right at the beginning of the turn. And the opponent is going to Dynamax one of their Pokemon early, which is good because it means I might have Dynamax advantage later in the battle. It is going to be that Dragapult, so I'm thinking this is going to be a weakness policy Dragapult. I led off with my Meowstic and my Eldegoss, which don't seem particularly threatening right off the bat, but they are crucial for the setup. And just to forewarn you, this setup takes a little bit of time, but it's pretty effective and pretty reliable, to be fair. So I go for a skill swap with my Meowstic, and what this does is it takes Cotton Down off Eldegoss and gives Eldegoss the Prankster ability, allowing it to get a super fast sleep powder onto the Dragapult before it can even attack. My opponent goes for a quick attack into the Eldegoss, probably wanting to try to break any focus sashes I have so that the Dragapult can then take me out, but Dragapult's asleep, so that obviously didn't happen. And now I can Prankster Sleep Powder into the Sylveon to put that to sleep too, which is great. And then I can skill swap Sylveon to remove its Pixelate ability and give it the Cotton Down ability. Both of those aspects are really helpful. Removing Pixelate means it can't quick attack activate weakness policy on Dragapult because its quick attack is now normal type, not fairy type. And also it downpowers its Hyper Voice, so that's really good, but it also gives it Cotton Down, which is very helpful for the strategy. Now I go for an Expanding Force, and you see Cotton Down drop the speed stat. That's the effect of Cotton Down. When you're hit by any attack, it drops the speed stat of all other Pokemon. And you see that actually Dragapult's speed stat dropped as well, which I didn't expect because generally they run Clear Body. So that's really helpful to know because the next turn it means that I know I can go for a Prankster Charm with my Eldegoss into the Dragapult to make it completely impotent and neuter it completely, which is so good. So I'm in a position here where my setup is kind of going. The issue is I want to get into Galarian Articuno, but it's not safe to do that at the moment while the Dragapult is here because it still hits super effective onto my Galarian Articuno, so I don't want that to happen. It does actually U-turn out here, which doesn't do much damage to the Eldegoss after the charm, which is great. But I'd say the one downside to this setup is that if Eldegoss got U-turn, it could just U-turn out of there, which is relatively slow, and it means that I could bring in Galarian Articuno very safely. But you see here now they bring in Appleton, and this part of the battle gets a bit stally. Also, Sylveon reveals Shadow Ball, which is another threatening move for Galarian Articuno, so I don't feel safe just switching in Galarian Articuno as it's so important to my strategy. So I skill swap the Appleton, take away its thick fat, but that's not so crucial there. It's going for curses, and this is why it's a bit stally. I don't want it to get up too many attack boosts because it could be threatening. So I'm going for some more charms with my Eldegoss and just going for a bit of damage. I got a crit there. You can see it doesn't do very much damage at all as the Appleton continues to curse. So I want to continue to reduce its attack stat because I can reduce its attack faster than it can boost it. I know that it gets body press with boosted defense, that could be scary, but for Articuno, which is Psychic Flying type with its Galarian form, it's not threatened by that. But here I saw that the Appleton had Recover, and that's when I thought enough is enough. Nothing is happening for me here. I need to hard switch into my Articuno, and this is where you will see the strategy. This is the payoff, and I hope you enjoy it. My Meowstic has Tail Slap, which will hit into the Sylveon, which now has Cotton Down. This can reduce Articuno's speed stat, but with its competitive ability, it gets a special attack boost by 2 stages for each time its speed drops. The reason I run Tail Slap is because it hits multiple times. This time it's going to hit 3 times, which means 3 separate speed drops for Galarian Articuno, which means 3 separate special attack boosts by 2 stages, which means it gets to +6 attack in 1 turn, which is so cool. This is the strategy that I've been planning for the longest time. The reason you have to do it like this is because you can't just have Eldegoss next to Galarian Articuno, because competitive doesn't activate if your ally drops your stats. So if Eldegoss drops Galarian Articuno's stats, competitive doesn't activate. You have to skill swap Cotton Down onto an enemy for that to work. So that's why we've got this complex setup in the first place. What's really cool though is you can do the skill swap and then like we just are looking at the Cotton Down ability. That's what we want, but we also in the process get a Prankster Eldegoss, which is a really cool support Pokemon. So I wanted to show that off. But now we've got our +6 Galarian Articuno, which is just so powerful. It's got a base 125 special attack stats, so that is so strong. Now I can bring in my Dusclops, which is another great support Pokemon on this team. And I'm going to Dynamax my Galarian Articuno at this stage because things are looking pretty good. If I can take out that Appleton, then I will be probably the slowest Pokemon on the field because Articuno at this point has got 3 speed drops. Sylveon is the only one on the field that didn't get the speed drops because it had the Cotton Down ability. Just want to point out here, I've got the weakness policy on Articuno. Obviously, in this situation, having weakness policy is irrelevant because I'm already at +6 special attack, but it's just because I have another mode to the team, which I'll show you later on in the video. So now I take out Appleton, and I'm going to go for a Trick Room with my Dusclops, and because Galarian Articuno is -3 speed, even though it does have a significant speed investment, it's now going to be one of the slowest things on the field. So I can have that speed control with Dusclops here in the back, and break the Urshifu Sash with Nightshade so that I can take it out with this Max Mindstorm here. The opponent really doesn't have any play that they could make. They could bring in Dragapult there, but obviously it's also in the Trick Room, so it would be too fast. And yeah, the Shadow Balls, they're doing a decent amount of damage, but it's just not enough at this stage in the game. So what we're going to do to finish up is go for an ally switch. This is just to make sure that like a quick attack couldn't take us out, or maybe a sucker punch from the Dragapult couldn't take out Articuno, because I want Articuno to get the last KOs. I think that Dusclops could probably handle a lot of the rest of the team, well, the 2 remaining Pokemon, maybe not the Dragapult. I kind of needed to get that Dragapult KO, but yeah, I can just ally switch to avoid that, and yeah, that's going to be the game because the Sylveon can't do enough at this stage. Basically, Dusclops beats it because it doesn't have any fairy moves. And yeah, it will do a ton of damage in the Trick Room. We'll get more Cotton Down drops, and not that we can boost our special attack any further. But that's the team. So, well, that's not the team. That's part of the team. That's the like meme part of the team that is actually really fun to play with because you just don't see Eldegoss use that much, or Meowstic, you don't see it that much. So yeah, really, really fun way of using it. Also, to point out, I had Expanding Force on my Galarian Articuno before I realized that Expanding Force is not good on flying type Pokemon or Pokemon with Levitate. You have to be on the ground for Expanding Force to hit both opponents in Psychic Terrain. So definitely use Freeze and Glare on your Galarian Articuno because Expanding Force is not the one. So yeah, that's the first part of the team, and I loved that battle because it definitely shows off what I was trying to accomplish. It's not always the easiest to get like all of those aspects together. The Tail Slap especially. I mean, you can get Cotton Down onto the opponent relatively easily, but having Meowstic still around when Galarian Articuno comes in and does all the stuff, you don't necessarily get that very frequently, and running a different move over Tail Slap is sometimes preferable. But you know, this is YouTube, I do it for the content, and I think you guys will appreciate that. So anyway, I want to show you a couple more modes to the team because there are a few more things that you can do with it, and it just can give you some ideas on how to use Galarian Articuno. In this team, it's like the centerpiece, the Dynamax Pokemon. Nothing else on the team really is built for Dynamaxing. So if you've got a really bad Galarian Articuno matchup, for example, if the opponent has a Tyranitar, you need to prioritize dealing with that. But anyway, this next battle is a cautionary tale. This is how not to play against Galarian Articuno. The opponent's got some interesting Pokemon, but I just don't think that they were ready for the Galarian Articuno. So yeah, they've got the lead Incineroar and Lapras, which is actually a very scary lead for this team. For one specific play they can make, which they actually do make in this battle. So it's good to show you what to be worried about, what to try to avoid. But they are going to Dynamax their Lapras turn 1, and Dynamaxing turn 1 is usually great. We usually want to see that because we can skill swap and sleep powder, and you know, their Dynamax is dealt with basically. So that's what we want to see. The only issue is that the Incineroar has Fake Out, so it can prevent the skill swap. Not that they necessarily would predict the skill swap, but yeah, that's an issue, and they can go for the Ice type move into my Eldegoss, but Eldegoss does survive because it's a very bulky Pokemon. It has a massive special defense stat, so that is very fortunate that it can survive, and I can get the Cotton Down drops on everything else. Not that that's particularly helpful, although it does mean that Eldegoss outspeeds everything on the following turn, which is good, and I can just go for a Sleep Powder. Interesting to note that their Lapras did outspeed me, which I think it probably has some speed investment. My Eldegoss isn't like, it's not minimum speed. It's not built for Trick Room, for example. So I quite like having a little bit of speed on that, just so that it can act as a anti-Trick Room measure. This next turn I go for a Pollen Puff with my Eldegoss just to try to restore my Meowstic's Focus Sash in case it has to take a Darkest Lariat, but that wasn't the case. It just goes for a Snarl, and that's able to take out my Eldegoss. So Eldegoss goes down, and I've got the Cotton Down onto my Meowstic currently. What I want to do is get the Cotton Down onto one of the opponent's Pokemon, but that might be a bit hard because yeah, well, you'll see what happens. I bring in my Galarian Articuno, and I'm quite comfortable doing this at the moment, even though Lapras could wake up. Galarian Articuno's bulk is decent, and I do have the weakness policy, as you saw in the last match. So if they do end up going for an Ice type move into a Dynamax Galarian Articuno, I'm quite confident that I can take it and get my weakness policy. So that was the idea behind this play, and I'm just going to go for a max Airstream into the Incineroar. It's not going to do much damage at all though, so it's probably an Assault Vest Incineroar. I don't have much special attack investment on this Articuno because obviously with all the setup options, I feel like it's way more important to have bulk on this set because I can boost up my special attack very easily. So now I'm going to skill swap into the Incineroar, give it the Cotton Down, but that's actually not going to work out very well this match because they're going to go for a Parting Shot into my Galarian Articuno. And if you don't know how competitive works with Parting Shot, watch closely. So we get an attack drop which boosts our special attack by two stages, and then we get a special attack drop which also boosts our special attack by 2 stages. So we end up with plus 3 special attack basically if you go for a Parting Shot into Galarian Articuno. So never ever make that play because that is basically how you lose battles, and that's really helpful for me because they actually Parting Shotted out, which removed Cotton Down, but they gave me plus 3 special attack anyway, so I didn't need Cotton Down on the field in this match anyway, so that's pretty good. So now I can go for a max Airstream to boost our speed a little bit for the next Pokemon that are going to come out, and I can go for a skill swap into the Lapras because I got the Intimidate off the Incineroar last turn, and I can give that to Lapras, and what that means is that Lapras can drop my attack stat, and that's obviously going to give me another competitive boost. So now we're at +5 special attack, and nothing really is going to be taking any attacks at this stage. So the Lapras is going to go for a freeze dry. It doesn't do too much damage. We get our weakness policy, again, kind of redundant. It does boost our special attack by 1 stage, but +5 and +6, there's actually not that much difference. We're probably one hit KOing everything anyway. And at this stage, the opponent does cancel the battle because I think that they saw their mistake with the parting shot. So yeah, don't make that play. It will lose you battles. So that was another one where I was trying the cotton down strategy, and it turns out it didn't really work. Fake out does ruin this strategy a little bit, unless you replace tail slap for protect, and then you could double protect on the first turn and then do cotton down stuff the following turn. That helps. But I think that I want to show you just 2 more modes of the team, because you can really play around and maybe get some ideas and incorporate 1 or 2 of these modes into your own Galarian Articuno teams to go forward with those. I've had a lot of time to think about this, guys, so I've got a lot of content just for this one team. Okay, so this next battle, my opponent's going to lead out with Machamps.com, oh my god, Shiny Gengar, and a Tapu Fini. So this is potentially a threatening lead for me, because obviously the Gengar is there, which is super effective against both of my Pokemon. I'm leading Dusclops and Galarian Articuno very differently to my previous battles, as I'm just got my Articuno on the field straight away. I can immediately see that the Gengar is Focus Sash. What I'm going to do this first turn is I'm going to Dynamax my Articuno, because I'm expecting at least one of the opponent's Pokemon to taunt into my Dusclops to prevent the Trick Room. So what I'm going to try to do is take out the Gengar on the first turn, because that thing is very threatening to my team. If it goes for a Shadow Ball, I get my weakness policy, and then I'm looking pretty good already. So I can go for a Shadow Sneak with my Dusclops, do a lot of damage to that Machamps.com. As Gengar does go for a taunt into Dusclops, that's fine. I can go for attacking moves with this Dusclops, as I'm going to go for a Max Phantasm into the Gengar. I wasn't sure if that was the best move. I didn't realize that Shadow Sneak would do so much. If I had realized, I would have probably gone for a Max Airstream, because that would have taken out Gengar at that stage. Even without much special attack investment, I'm sure that a Max Airstream would have taken it out there. Now Tapu Fini goes for a Calm Mind. That's slightly worrying, because Tapu Fini is very bulky and pretty strong as well. So I'm concerned about if that maybe Dynamaxes in the future. Then my opponent makes this play, where they switch into the Landorus and give it, obviously intimidates, but it gives me a competitive boost. So it's a very risky play. I was wondering, maybe they are going to, maybe they think they can take out my Articuno before I get a chance to attack. I'm doubtful, because I am a bulky Articuno. I've got max HP investment and some defense investment, so I'm doubtful, and I'm gonna call their bluff to see if they can take me out before I can get any attacks out on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Shadow Sneak myself, because you've seen the weakness policy, and that will give me another +2 special attack. So now I'm at +4 special attack, and I'm going to go for a Max Airstream into that Landorus, just in case it was like Choice Scarf, or if there's something in the back that might outspeed me. It doesn't take Landorus out, which makes me think that that's probably Assault Vest. Even without special attack investment, a +4 special attack, I would have thought that that should take out a Landorus. So I think it's probably an Assault Vest Landorus. And then they go for a Rockfall, and you see it does a ton of damage, which is really scary, but that's because it's a critical hit. And I was so right that there was no way they could have taken me out if they hadn't got a critical hit. However, fortunately, for some reason, the Tapu Fini targets into the Dusclops. I'm not sure whether that was to cover for maybe like a max guard so that they didn't waste a turn, or an ally switch even. But that was really good for me. I mean, the Moonblast, there was no way that that was knocking out Articuno without the crit. So I was just really unlucky that they got that crit. This turn, instead of wanting to take out the Landorus, I definitely want to prioritize the Tapu Fini, because it does have that special defense boost, and if Articuno goes down before I get damage on Tapu Fini, then it's going to be a huge problem in the late game. So I do actually manage to one-shot that, even with the special defense boost. I mean, +4 special attack, going to demolish that Tapu Fini. And yeah, and then Landorus does take out my Articuno, which is fine. I think that was a 2-hit KO anyway. Even without the crit, I do think it was a 2-hit KO, but that's okay. We have got more damage on the Landorus with the Nightshade. My offensive Dusclops going off here, like it's doing so much damage, it's so good. And now I can bring in a Landorus of my own. I know it's a bit cheap, but you guys, it has great synergy with the team. Wait for the last battle, you will see. And now, so I'm able to get the Intimidate off, and I'm Choice Scarf, so I can ensure that I'm able to take out the Landorus before it attacks. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for a Shadow Sneak into the Landorus because I can take it out with my Dusclops. Dusclops taking down Dynamax Pokemon here. Shout out to K-Cray, who has been using Dusclops in a draft league recently, and it's been amazing. Offensive Dusclops is cool. Anyway, yeah, so Heatran's come in, it's on a balloon, and we need to break that balloon. So I'm going for a U-turn with my Landorus. It is Choice Scarf, so I need to make sure that I can pop the balloon. But I had Gastrodon in the back anyway, so Gastrodon would have definitely closed that one out. So that's showing you the Dusclops set. So I have like the Shadow Sneak for proccing Weakness Policy on Galarian Articuno if I don't want to go for the like hard setup with Meowstic and Eldegoss. And so that's a bit easier to pull off. Generally, people expect like Trick Room or something. You don't need Trick Room a lot of the time because you can max Airstream and boost your speed instead of being the slowest thing there. So yeah, I really like that option. And then I wanted to show you this final battle, which is the final mode of the team. And I think it's definitely a fun one because it's generally using relatively viable Pokemon in a way that you might use them anyway. But just to have, yeah, a really fun time with Galarian Articuno. So my opponent's got another Fake Out user. We don't like Fake Out users with this strategy. It's a bit annoying, but they do have an Intimidate user, which is very good. We also have an Intimidate user, which is very good because it's part of this strategy. The opponent, by the way, had a very hard Trick Room team, so I wasn't sure what this lead was going to do, but all of the rest of their Pokemon were like bulky Trick Room setters and Trick Room abusers. On the first turn, I'm going to go for a skill swap with my Meowstic to get the Intimidate ability, so I can intimidate the opposing Incineroar even more so that any dark move it might go for on a Galarian Articuno won't do so much damage. And then Nihilego actually sets up the Trick Room, which is really interesting because it's a relatively fast Pokemon, but it does have access to Trick Room and it's very specially bulky, so that was cool to see. On this following turn, Nihilego is going to do a ton of damage with a Power Gem, as I'm going to U-turn out with my Landorus. Landorus is the fastest one on the field, so I can have a really slow U-turn in Trick Room to bring out my Galarian Articuno, and I can reverse their Trick Room with my Meowstic. That's the final move on the set, which is really good. I don't think that they were expecting that, so it's really good that I'm able to reverse Trick Room, and now I can Dynamax my Galarian Articuno. Without any boosts from competitive, it won't be doing too much damage, but I do have a way of ensuring that I can do a ton of damage even on this first turn, because as you saw on the first turn, I skill swapped my Landorus, and now I can skill swap into Nihilego because I can give it the Intimidate, and that will boost up my special attack with competitive. So that's another mode of this team, having the U-turn Landorus next to skill swap Meowstic so that I can get the Intimidate and swap that onto the opponent to get the competitive boost. It's also worth pointing out that like skill swapping, I couldn't skill swap Incineroar because I have the Prankster ability initially and Dark types are immune to Prankster. But if I skill swap Landorus, I then could potentially skill swap Intimidate with Intimidate, because my Meowstic would have Intimidate, Incineroar would have Intimidate, and that would mean each turn I could skill swap and get more competitive boosts while making the opponent weaker. So that's really, really cool. Intimidate is your friend with Galarian Articuno. So anyway, my opponent's going for Power Gems with their slow Nihilego, which is fine with me. It gives me my weakness policy. I'm now extra strong. And they aren't setting up Trick Room, which would have been a bit more difficult to handle. Now they're going to send out their Drampar as their Trick Room sweeper, or their remaining Trick Room sweeper, seeing as though I one-shot the Alolan Marowak. And it can be quite bulky. We saw an AV Lando Survivor +4 hit last time, but because I have Expanding Force on my Meowstic, which is able to get a really good amount of damage onto that Drampar, I'm definitely able to take out, even if it was AV, I would have been able to take it out from that range. And we've only got the Nihilego to contend with now. Oh no, and the Incineroar, but Incineroar obviously is going to come in and drop the attack again. But we can, yeah, definitely deal with that with the remaining Pokemon that we have, because we've still got Landorus in the back, which could come in, intimidate, and do like rock slides or whatever it wants to do, basically. So the battle is cancelled at that point, and yeah, that's the team, basically. It's really fun, really silly, using skill swap a lot, which hasn't been seen a lot previously because you can't skill swap Dynamax Pokemon. That's a big thing to keep in the back of your head. Can't skill swap Dynamax Pokemon. But that's not the intention here. We're just playing around with Intimidates and Cotton Down. We're not looking to skill swap specific Dynamax Pokemon, so that's good. The last thing I want to show you is why Galarian Articuno is simultaneously the best and the worst new Pokemon. So in this, I skipped to the middle of a battle, and my opponent has a -4 attack Stack Attacker, which they've decided to Dynamax for some reason, and they've just sent out their own Galarian Articuno. I've got a Prankster Eldegoss, I'm very low HP, and I miss a Sleep Powder, and then the opposing Galarian Articuno goes for a Freezing Glare and does get the freeze. So this battle was so annoying because I was in such a good position. I missed 3 Sleep Powders in a row, and my Articuno got frozen and didn't thaw, and it was really annoying. I've only had the game for a day, and my Galarian Articuno has been frozen twice, and I am not very happy about that. It's been a very unlucky run of games, but fortunately, I definitely got enough games to show you how cool this team is, and you can try it out for yourself or try to make your own Galarian Articuno team. I don't think it's too hard to build around because it's such a good Pokemon. But that's where I'm going to leave you. I've got loads more planned, so definitely like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more crazy strategies like this, because I've got loads coming up. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Foo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.